Attention. Due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 34 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And I am your episode, Brian.
I'm leaving that in there, Brian. I'm leaving that in there.
Oh, God. I am tired. Okay. So, I was going to get to this, but obviously we're in the middle of the move. So, I was going to say, I apologies tonight if I am not my normal vibrant self, as I am a little tired. So, obviously, I'm mixing up names. Thank God I didn't say, hi, I'm your other host, Tim. But, yeah, so... so I am your other host, Brian, of course, and welcome to Civil Gore. Or I say Civil Gore, as Tim liked to used to say.
Civil Gore. This is the kind of sad because this is the last episode before Halloween.
Yeah, it is kind of a little sad.
A little bittersweet because that's my favorite time. It just seems like this month has just flown by between the Busch Gardens trip and the everything else. Your move, obviously.
Yeah.
So
I think we need Halloween 2. That's what it is. You know? But
Yeah.
It doesn't have to take place in a hospital. It just has to be...
No, let's not have it take place in a hospital.
Yeah, we just want secondary Halloween. You know,
but I'm keeping it going. I'm taking the kids to some fun little activities this week. Tomorrow, we're going to be on the USS North Carolina battleship. They have a Halloween bash for the kids there. And
you were saying that. That sounds really cool.
Trick-or-treating and games and storytelling, and it all takes place on the deck of the battleship, which I thought was just kind of too cool to pass up. And then Saturday, we're going to go to the aquarium. They have Trick-or-Treat Under the Sea, the Fort Fisher Aquarium, and they have divers with sharks, and they have candy stations and games and stuff like that. So I'm trying to keep it going as long as I can with those little activities, so it should be fun.
That sounds really cool. I'm like, see, you're always saying how you're jealous of all my, like, conventions and East Coast, but you have, like, some seriously cool haunt and Halloween activities over by you.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about, where you grow up. You're used to what it's always been around you, so sometimes you take that stuff for granted. But we do have some cool touristy attractions around here. If you ever get down here, you got to do the battleship, though.
Yeah, I remember you were saying that. So I mean, we'll definitely be down there again. As long as you guys are living there, we'll believe me, we'll be down there. So we'll have to check that out.
Yeah, which is also supposedly haunted.
Nice.
Yeah, so they did an episode of Ghost Hunter. Actually, two. I think they did 2 episodes of Ghost Hunters on the battleship. So.
Oh wow.
Well, we have to get going because my wife wants to watch Walking Dead. So.
Yeah, so we're gonna. So join us next week when we do a real show. This was a little shorter. So that was I'm just kidding. Of course, we're gonna give you a full show. It's just gonna be quick and accelerated. Basically,
Tim right to the point.
Yeah, he'll cut out all my incessant rambling and cut me off.
Oh, there's people out there going, "Thank God, they're finally gonna do a short show."
I know, and we say this all the time. We'll see if we can actually stick to it. But I think this time we have to, because Tim's gonna probably have a knock on the door within 40 minutes or so if he doesn't.
Well, let's get right into it with our first chop. So the big news is that as you're listening to this podcast, dropping today is Stranger Things Season 2 on Netflix.
Yes. I mean, you know what? As far as, the bittersweet ending to the season, though, this is a good way to end it with this show.
Yeah, and I've been rewatching, I should say, the Season 1. And, man, I guess the first time around, I guess you're so you don't know what's going to happen, and you're immersed in the show. But the second time around, I got to really pay attention to how brilliant the writing is. And there's some really good, sharp, clever writing in the show. And when the first season ran, I was not a fan of Winona Ryder's character at all. Like I didn't like her performance because it was so different from stuff she's done before. She's always kind of the subdued. I'm used to the Winona Ryder of Edward Scissorhands days and Beetlejuice and that kind of thing. And so I couldn't really wrap my head around her performance. But I'm rewatching it. I finally get it. Like, I think she did a phenomenal job. It's just a different take on the character that you have to kind of process, I guess.
Yeah, no, I felt the same way, and it's funny because I didn't get to after I actually watched the completely during the first run. I started to watch it again. I didn't get through it a second because then stuff came, and since I'd already seen it, I didn't feel compelled to actually finish it, knowing that the second season was going to come and I can watch it again before that. And I thought the same thing. It wasn't until the second round of her character where you really kind of, something like clicks and you kind of get it. You're like, oh, okay. I think you're right, though. I think you nailed it. It's like you're so used to her doing so many different roles, and here she's like supposedly this like down on her luck mother, and that's not her normal role, so it's weird to see that, I think, and she pulled it off.
I had a little insight. I don't know if this is true or not, or if this was intentional or not, but I kind of looked at it and I kind of compared it to It, because it's kind of a similar feel where you have kids running around. They're the focus of the story. But I almost wonder, if you look at a lot of the adults in Stranger Things, a lot of them are very one note. You have that the dad that's kind of like the henpecked, whatever, honey, kind of dad. Yeah. You've got Winona Ryder's character who's kind of just like the crazy offbeat, and of course you got the sheriff who's like the slovenly womanizer type,
the grizzled guy,
the grizzled guy. And I wondered if maybe some of that was intentional to make those adult characters a little more one note, so that the kids become the more three-dimensional stars of the show, if you will.
Right, and you're right, because even like the Matthew Modine character, he's just like generic, almost generic sinister guy,
Mm-hmm. And you have to look at it in, maybe they're writing this from a kid's point of view, because when you're a kid, adults do seem very one note. You don't get all the nuances that you do when you get older and realize that they're real people and they have their own flaws. It's just, they're either figures of authority, or their mom, or their dad, or their so-and-so's mom, or so-and-so's dad.
Right. Yeah, and I think you're right, a lot of it, because remember, the Duffer Brothers are big fans of the 80s, and they're writing it almost as if, they obviously have that kid at heart mentality going into this, of the way they did that. It's like all their fond memories of growing up as, as kids of the 80s are obviously apparent in the way they do things in this, I mean, you name any 80s kids movie, and you'll probably find something in there with it. You see Goonies in there, you see a little bit of It in there, you see a little bit of E.T. and name it.
Stand by Me.
Stand by Me. Yeah. It's like this this stuff, and just from what the upcoming like previews I've seen for the second season, I mean, there's even more of that. Like the fact that they use Dragon's Lair, I'm ecstatic about, because that was one of my favorite. That and Space Ace were my favorite video games growing up. So it's like, and I love that they got that. They're all dressed as Ghostbusters. You saw in the preview, another thing, So I mean, you could tell you have to have that like kid at heart mentality to go into that. So that makes perfect sense that they would go that route. Make the adults one dimensional like that.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I don't know that I'll be able to just binge watch it, because Olivia is a huge Stranger Things fan, and she's going to want to watch it with me. So unless I do it on the down low, which I don't think I'm going to even risk my life doing that.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
So, it may be a little while, but that's okay. I get to stretch it out.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously I'm a little behind with my actually, it's funny, I'm more behind tweeting than I am actually. I mean, I'm still behind maybe like about 6 or 7 movies to the challenge, but also I've watched a bunch. I've been a bad host and not tweeted it. But
right, that's your story.
No, seriously. Well, I text you when I watch it, but yeah, no, and so it's like I'm like, all right, now I gotta fit this in the midst of the move and stuff. So it's,
I know I'm sitting there going, should I really be rewatching Stranger Things when I've got movies I've got to watch for this stupid challenge? So not a stupid challenge. That was ugly. It's an awesome challenge.
Yeah, it is.
But it sometimes feels stupid when I'm like 6 movies behind.
Yeah, well, I'm really behind. Like I actually broke my own rule, but by saying I wasn't gonna use a movie that I've already seen, but I used Funhouse as one of my Tobe Hooper one, just because I haven't seen it in so long. And it happened to be on, and while I was packing, I had my iPad there watching it on the cable, and the app. So I'm like, you know what? It's on. I'm watching it. It
Well,
counts.
I actually found a Tobe Hooper I had not seen, and it's a travesty that I haven't seen this, which was Life Force.
Oh, see, I've
So-
seen that too. So that would
See,
have been
I've
the same
never
thing.
seen
I
it,
haven't
yeah.
seen it in a long time. So, but
Man, talk about it's got
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah, a lot of
interesting elements.
yeah, a lot of the finer things we look for in horror movies.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. My Civil Gore horror movie challenge update. I watched. I think I've got 4 films here on the rundown. I can just go through them really quick. The first one, this was for my Silver Scream challenge, was The Ghoul from 1933, and this was a Boris Karloff picture, and kind of interesting to see him. Always interesting to see him in a non-Frankenstein role. Not that this movie strayed too far from that character. He's still kind of playing a mute monster. He plays this fellow that gets this Egyptian artifact that will basically allow him to return from the dead. And so he comes back to life as the ghoul from the title. But it reminded me a lot of The Mummy because there's a lot of Egyptian lore and stuff inside of it. But it's also kind of a mix of Frankenstein because he's kind of a lumbering, silent monster. So it was pretty cool. I liked it. I like all those old Universal films, so it was interesting. And then the next one up was Dracula from 1974. This is the Dan Curtis version. I believe this was a made-for-TV movie, actually.
Oh, so that fits that thing.
Yeah, I used to actually use this one, though, for my Oscar, what is it, Your Career is Dead challenge.
Oh,
because it stars Jack Palance, who, of course, won an Oscar for City Slickers, I believe. And
I didn't think about that, okay.
But, yeah, Jack Palance is Dracula. I couldn't wrap my head around that. So, and I don't think I can still wrap my head around it after seeing the movie. But
Did he come on and go like he goes like it's Van Helsing. He's like to goes him. He goes, "You need that one thing, just one thing." Does he do that?
No, unfortunately. But I don't know. This is such a strange Dracula movie. If you have not seen it, you need to see this one because it's a pretty faithful adaptation. I mean, they don't try to go off the rails with it. It's a pretty by-the-book standard adaptation of the novel, but it's so brightly lit. It's the weirdest thing. It's like most of it takes place during the daytime. All the sets are brightly lit. It's such a strange take on it. And I don't know the reasoning behind it. And I can't say that it totally works, but I can't say that it doesn't, that there aren't elements that do really work well.
That's so weird because, like, Dracula, first of all, just in theory, he's a vampire and they shouldn't be in the light. So
I know, it's just the strangest thing. I could not stop gazing at it going, why did he light this movie this way? It's the weirdest thing. But it's interesting, though. I mean, I'll give him that. That's why I watched it.
Yeah, I gotta...
So, yeah, I mean, I couldn't get past Jack Palance's Dracula. I'm sorry. Like, I kept expecting him to do that. What was that show he hosted with the not Unsolved Mysteries, but he hosted one of those shows, like the Ripley's Believe It or Not, I think.
Oh, is that he did? I remember because it was the other guy. What was Robert Stack did Unsolved Mysteries?
Yeah,
right?
Robert Stack did Unsolved Mysteries, but I think he did. I think Jack Palance did Ripley's Believe It or Not, and he always had that shit-eating grin every time he like told you some gruesome thing. And he kind of plays that as Dracula kind of plays that same thing. So I mean, Jack Palance always played Jack Palance, right? So.
Yeah, that's the thing. Jack Palance in anything other than Jack Palance is gonna sound odd, you know. It's like, I mean, you could put him in anything, and it still would work in a weird way. Like, just imagine like him in like Ghostbusters or something. It's like, who are you gonna call? You know, it's like he could do it. And
he could pull it off, yeah.
And same thing to me with Clint Eastwood. Like, if he's in any role that's not Clint Eastwood, essentially, he's like, it seems weird, you know? Like, I can't picture him in like Kindergarten Cop or something. Well, maybe I could actually. Arnold Schwarzenegger did that. That's not a good example, but you know what I'm saying.
It's
like
not
some
a
really,
tumor.
yeah, some really like zany comedy. Like, I can't picture like Clint Eastwood doing that, you know, because it's got to be a gruff role, so he plays that gruff. So yeah, so Jack Palance in anything other than that kind of a role is weird.
It was very weird.
But now I gotta watch it.
Yeah, definitely watch it. It's worth watching. It's not a bad movie.
Which one is it on? Shudder, Netflix?
Gosh,
Amazon?
I don't remember. It might have been
of the three.
Amazon. Sorry, I can't remember right off the top of my head. It was one of those, though.
Well, I know they put all the Universal movies on Shudder recently, so maybe it was on there.
I keep wanting to say it was Amazon.
Mm.
So, but you should be able to find it. Just look for Dan Curtis Dracula. I think the actual title is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
See, they should have called it Jack Palance's Dracula. That would get way more viewings, I'm telling you.
The next one I watched was because it was free on Google Play, which I didn't think this was released yet, but it's Amityville: The Awakening.
How appropriate.
Yeah, so apparently they offered it for free for a limited time on Google Play, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a shot. It's interesting. They take a meta take on the Amityville legend. So
they have to. Bella Thorne is in it, of course.
Yeah, yeah. So it's basically a family moves into the Amityville house, and in this universe, the Amityville horror movie exists, and the remake exists, and all the sequels exist. So it's like it's in real life.
I kind of like that approach, though.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So they happen to move into this house, and it's a young daughter, a teenage daughter, and then her teenage brother who is like in a vegetative state, and which they play off of a lot. Him being in this. He's real creepy. It reminded me of the sister from Pet Sematary, like that level of yeah. You'll get freaked out by it.
Wow, great.
But of course they move into the Amityville house and surprisingly weird things ensue. It's not good, but it's not the worst Amityville sequel that there has ever been.
There have been
obviously.
some.
Yeah, so I mean. If you're a fan of the Amityville legend, it's worth watching. I enjoyed the meta aspects of it. I thought that was kind of a cool approach, but it ends up being rather mainstream and pedestrian by the end.
Now, did they use the updated house, or did they use the original look of the house? Because that that being from on Long Island, I know that the house no longer looks the way it did originally.
I couldn't tell you because I don't really know the differences.
Oh, okay. It's the main window, that big window in the front. It has that iconic look to it.
Yeah.
I think I had an article, I think, where they showed the comparison. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, and speaking of which, I'm almost finished with my paper model of the Amityville house.
Oh, nice.
It's been a fun little project. It's surprisingly more difficult than you would think and more time consuming. It's just paper. You just fold it and glue it, whatever. It takes a lot of time because you're having to cut slots and put tabs in the slots and yeah, it gets pretty intricate, but I'll post pictures once I'm done with that. And then the last one I watched was Grave Encounters from 2011. This is what I used for my found footage.
Oh, I've seen that. They air that a lot on I think it was Showtime used to air that almost all the time.
It's very popular. I've always heard great things about it. I finally was like, I need to finally just sit down and watch this thing. And I'll have to say, and I don't want to. It's good for what it is. Right. But I don't know if I'm just jaded on found footage in general. I mean, this was from 2011, so it's 6 years old. So I mean, we've seen a lot of the same tropes over and over and over again, and maybe that's why I didn't enjoy it quite as much as I thought I would. There were some aspects I just thought were kind of corny. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. And actually, it's funny. Julie, one time we stumbled upon it, just flipping through the channels, and she thought it was actually one of those like ghost hunter shows.
Yeah,
because it has that. And she's like, "Oh God, this is." And then when we realized it was a movie, because we tuned it on. I don't even think we realized what channel it was on, at first. And so we kind of realized we're like, "Oh yeah, okay, this is exactly like that." So I guess they hit it on that mark to make it like to make it like one of those shows what they were going for.
Yeah, I mean, it's entertaining. It's not a bad movie by any means. It's just I don't know.
I've seen some horrible found footage movies. That one I put kind of in the middle range of it. I've seen some amazing and bad, and
a lot of people put it at the top.
I don't see that.
No, I thought there were some scenes that were just a little too like over the top for me. It just wasn't believable.
I mean, like the VHS series, I loved. Like those I could put in the top, and Paranormal Activity I put at the top. But and of course, Blair Witch, But speaking of Blair Witch, though, I found in packing, the best thing about this, real quick, about the packing is, you find stuff you don't remember you had, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I completely forgot I actually own this, but it's like the little like Kubrick things. You ever see those Kubricks? They look like Lego characters, but they're a little bigger. But they fit on Lego blocks.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah.
I found my Blair Witch set of those where it has the three campers and the little whatever the stick diagram
cool.
thing. Yeah, and I found it, and it's so cool. And the funny thing is, I found it as if I think I kind of found it like they did in the movie. I first saw it was like the bodies were together, the arms were out. So I literally found them in pieces and had to pull all the different limbs out of the box to complete the set. But now it's complete, and I put it into a nice bag, a little bag, in which is going to go into a storage box for now to make sure that it stays together. So that was kind of a cool find because I totally forgot I owned that. But sorry,
Cool.
Little tangent there.
Yeah. Well, I also watched the first episode of Lore, which is streaming on Amazon Prime now, and I really enjoyed it. It's very similar to the podcast.
And now you get to see what Aaron Mahnke looks like.
Yeah. Well.
Wait, I don't know that. Did they show him in the first episode? I saw him. He was in the opening trailer I saw. Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember if he was actually in the first episode. I already knew what he looked like because I'd already looked him up from the podcast.
Oh, okay.
But it's basically an expanded version of the podcast because the podcast episodes tend to run fairly short, usually about a half hour, if that. So this is like a full hour episode, but it was entertaining. I think the first episode's about people being buried alive.
Oh yeah, you know what? I think I saw some of it. There was like an extended trailer before Happy Death Day that I saw. And they showed it. So when I was showing Julie, I'm like, oh, this is that podcast I was telling you about, and because I would when I was listening to it, I would tell her some of the more interesting stories. I'd pass it on. Yeah. And so and I think that's the one they show. But there's an upcoming one where like Robert Patrick is in it. You got some big names in this.
Yeah, and there's very it's very much like the old school shows you would see on maybe like sci-fi or something, America's most haunted places or whatever. And then they like tell the story, and then they have like reenactments, and the people come out, and the actors are reenacting segments of the story. And then there's segments that are more like a documentary, and they're showing wood carvings and narration over the top of it. And I don't know, it's entertaining, it's educational, so definitely check it out. It's pretty good. Yeah,
and hopefully this will pave the way for other podcasts to get TV shows. Civil Gore.
Then nobody wants to see our faces on TV.
Probably not. I don't think they want to see our faces, period, let alone on TV.
We could replace ourselves with puppets, though.
Oh, we could. It'd be like an Avenue Q kind of thing.
Yeah.
There we go.
We'll just do puppets.
That Kickstarter number 48. Puppet Gore. Civil Gore. Yeah.
Puppet Gore.
I don't know. That doesn't even make sense. See, I'm not at my best today because I would have come up with something so much more funnier if I wasn't mentally and physically exhausted and drained.
But you did get to see Happy Death Day.
I did. That was it was a Friday. It was Friday night. We went to see it because Julie and I we're like, okay, we have a big weekend ahead of us in packing. Do we really want to start a Friday night and do much more? Let's just go out. So we went out, and I'm dying to see it anyway, no pun intended. So we went and we got tickets, and I did make the big classic horror faux pas, but due to our time schedule, really didn't have much of a choice. We saw a PG-13 horror movie on a Friday night 8:00 show.
Oh boy!
So you can imagine at one point it was like there were these kids behind us that were so obnoxious. I will give it to them. Once the movie started, they acted like typical, just screaming at the right spots. It was fine. But leading up to it, I thought I was in trouble. But then I was like, literally right before the movie starts, it must have been like what looked like a Girl Scout troop walk in. It all took the front row seats, which was kind of funny. I'm like, oh my God, what is this now? It's like, but it turned out once the movie started, it was loud enough that you really couldn't hear any talking behind, and it was just them screaming at parts. So it kind of made it more fun in the end. But still, I was like, oh God, did I make I made a huge mistake here.
I'm going to see a PG-13 movie with actual 13-year-olds.
Yeah,
this is not good.
We really had no choice. Julie works on Saturdays in winter, fall, and spring. So I was like, yeah, you know what? We really don't have much of a choice. So, but they were, like I said, it was okay. And I actually really enjoyed that movie. It wasn't really over the top scary. Definitely, like you said, was not gory. But boy, was it a fun movie to watch. And I had the lead actress. Jessica Roth. She is fantastic. She's the perfect. They could not have cast someone better for that role. I don't think.
Yeah. She was really good. Like, she was a combination of almost unlikable,
right? But she wasn't
but somewhat likable. Yeah,
right.
it's like she's got the looks, obviously, that you can't help but like her in some aspects.
Like on that kind of level. Yeah, you definitely. I mean, yeah, she's definitely attractive. Although I got to tell you, when she made the faces when she was scared, her face like all contorted, kind of. It's pretty crazy how she could contort her face into those, from like this like sunny face to this like. It's true, like where every aspect of her face showed terror. It was pretty like very expressive. It was very interesting. But I know she did a comedy show, so she was perfect for that because she does have that comedy knack.
Yeah,
like I think she was on that show. Was it Mary and Jane or something? I haven't seen it. I just looked her up on IMDb to see after. And so she does comedy in the past. So it's like she was like perfect for that role. She's very facially expressive. So when she showed fear, she showed it. When she wanted to. She needed to smile. It was like her whole face lit up. She just did a great job. And, that movie, if that had a bad person, someone that wasn't good in that leading role, the movie would have probably missed on every level it needed to hit. And I thought it hit it perfectly. I mean, is it going to win any horror awards? Absolutely not. It's going to go down in the annals of horror film history? Probably not. But if you want to go out and enjoy a movie.
Well, I mean, to her credit, she's not a known A-list actress.
No,
and
but
to pull in those kind of numbers they did with basically an unknown.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, and she may be because of this, because I think she's going to become very popular with that crowd, the age level too, which is what let's be honest. I mean, that's a big chunk of the demographic of the theater, and that movie was played perfect to its demographic, and it was. But I enjoyed it. I loved it. So yeah. It's definitely one I would, could see myself watching over and over again when it's on cable.
Okay, well, we have an interesting dismemberment. This is a casserole of weirdness. Not as bad as last week. Last week at least had some kind of consistent theme of 70s horror. This one is just all
salad because it was.
Yeah, this one's all over the place.
Yeah, but we got to leave space now for our wonderful sound effect.
Yep, so here we go with this week's dismemberment.
Wait, no, please, God! No, don't come!
Okay, first up, you remember we did that one a while back? It was like our longest summary ever. We found one that beat it.
Yeah. This is like, literally I have to scroll to get to it on my iPad.
This DVD comes with a collectible booklet. I think they just copy-pasted it right into the IMDb summary. This is the collectible booklet. But this one is called, I have not heard of this movie. It's called Down, aka The Shaft.
I think you got The Shaft when it came to seeing this.
From 2001, but it has Naomi Watts in it.
Really?
Yeah. It's weird. I was like, why did I not hear about this?
We're going back to A-list. She became an A-list, so how is we did not... Yeah, I'm surprised this was
it's not like I follow every Naomi Watts movie out there, but it's
but she's big enough that, like, you would... that when she comes out with a movie, it would be mentioned.
Yeah, but this one's coming out by a studio called Blue Underground. Again, 2001. Has a 2K remaster, a commentary, and this collectible booklet. And here we go. So sit back, crack open a beer or two.
Put the kids to bed.
Put the kids to bed. Yep. Here we go. When the express elevators in the Millennium Building, one of New York's most famous landmarks, is that true?
I don't even know if that is a real building, actually. In all honesty, I've never heard of it. I knew the answer to that. I've heard of the Millennium Falcon.
One of New York's most famous landmarks starts to malfunction and behave in erratic ways. Elevator mechanic Mark Newman is sent out to find the cause of the problems. His investigation meets unexpected resistance, and not everybody seems to be happy with his involvement. After a gruesome and deadly incident in which a blind man falls into the shaft and a security guard is decapitated, the police start an investigation. They are, however, not very successful. Mark is determined to find the cause. He is joined by a female reporter, Jennifer, who is looking for a juicy story.
Can I just stop you for 1 second? We're only halfway through, by the way.
No, we are only halfway through. And I don't like that they used, a guy gets decapitated and they use the term juicy story. It's a little in bad taste.
Bad taste,
anyway.
Yeah.
Together, they try to unravel the secrets behind the mysterious behavior of the elevator that seems to have a life of its own. When things get worse and death toll rises, the government, all caps...
I know.
It's the government. Capital G government.
Yeah.
Fearing terrorists are involved, seal off the building. What at first looked like a routine job turns into a horrifying nightmare in which Mark has to face an enemy whose bloodthirst is only met by its unpredictability. An enemy that is determined to fight off any intruder looking for the dark secret that lurks inside the belly of the building. An enemy that has to be feared. An enemy that has to be taken... down.
I see. But see, now with the AKA element to it, they could have changed that last sentiment to it. An enemy that has to be given the shaft. You know, it could have worked just as well. So
yeah, that's right.
They were clever there. Wow, that is so long. I think the movie is shorter than the description.
Yeah, you could watch the whole movie while I was reading that.
You did. I watched that and the commentary. Dude, that is nuts. Why is this so much? There's so many things to go. Like I can't even I don't even know where to start with jokes in there. It was like every time I thought of one, like there would be another 8 sentences after that. I'm like, oh man, no one's gonna remember it.
You know what? This was not the only elevator movie released this week. I don't know what the deal is with elevator movies, but fortunately the other one was classified as a thriller, so I didn't include it.
Well, it's like, the weekend when all the shark movies come out. I guess the same thing. This is the elevator. Well, I mean, like, I guess, that genre just has its ups and downs anyway.
Yeah. You beat me to it. You beat me to it.
I know. We both were thinking of it. Either one of us would have got that. Would have came up with that one.
Next up is Is this my pick of the week? I think this was going to be my pick of the week. Yeah, why not? I'll make this my pick of the week. Land of the Dead Collector's Edition, Scream Factory. Because it's Scream Factory Collector's Edition, why not? This one is packed full of extras. Commentaries, featurettes, 2-disc set, tons of bonus features. And this is, of course, the... is this the 4th or the 5th?
Land of the Dead. Well,
I'm such a bad horror fan.
Well, let's see. It was Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Island of the Dead, or is that part of
Diary?
Diary of the Dead.
I think this was the 4th one, and then it was Diary, or maybe
Land of the Dead, then Diary of the Dead. Yeah. Was it? So was Island of the Dead a different series?
Yeah, that's not a Romero.
Oh, okay.
One. But it's been so long since I've seen this one, so forgive me. But the living dead have taken over the world, and the last humans live in a walled city to protect themselves as they come to grips with the situation. This is one of those that I believe was kind of critically panned at the time, but I think has found kind of a new life among horror fans. I've heard several people, they include this one in with the original trilogy now.
Oh wow!
In retrospective, as kind of an official, sanctioning, if you will, of the good quote unquote dead movie. So,
cool.
I would like to own this one because I'd like to see this one again and give it another chance.
I want to say I may have it, but I think it's on DVD. I have it. Let's see.
Yeah.
Looking. Land of the Lost. Yes, I know I am.
The Land Before Time. Land Before Time 2.
Yeah, no, actually that's where it skips. It doesn't go to that. Okay, you know what? I don't see it there, but I know. Oh, you know what? I think it's Diary of the Dead is the one that they have. Yeah. I don't think I have Land of the Dead. I might have missed that one.
One of the guys from this was at Mad Monster Party. Yeah, but that it's a Scream Factory edition. I've never had a Scream Factory edition disappoint me. So.
Yeah, no, they're always like they're like the, as far as I'm concerned, they're like criterion of the horror.
And even if the movie's not that great, the extras are probably fascinating.
I mean, sometimes the worse the movie is, the better the extras are, because, especially because you either get those commentaries or those documentaries where they, like, you could tell, like, they know that they're making a bad movie or something, and it's, like, kind of fun.
I remember the one commentary that was like that was John Carpenter's Vampires. The commentary for that one was hilarious because the guy was basically bashing his own movie.
That...
Like he was like point out, this part really sucked. I'm like, oh my gosh, but it was entertaining, as far as commentaries went. Okay, the next up is we'll go to Odie, Return of the Ape Man. This one has the Bela Lugosi.
That's from Olive Films, so I guess you can mix that with the Vinegar Syndrome salad, right?
Yeah. Olive Films Return of the Ape Man. They seem to be putting out these little weird curiosities. This one's from 1944. While on an Arctic expedition, 2 scientists find the frozen body of a prehistoric caveman. They bring him home to their laboratory, but decide that in order to fully utilize and control him, they must transplant a more developed brain into the caveman. This reminds me of, what is that, Encino Man? This is like the plot of Encino Man.
It is, I think. It basically is. Or like that, what's the Geico caveman?
That's all I could think of. What else? Or what is the Phil Hartman unfrozen caveman lawyer? Or whatever.
Oh, yeah. I always think of Return of the Ape Man. I think of the one that Penny did in The Big Bang Theory. Like, what was it? Serial Apist? Yeah, or something, right? Was that it?
Serial Apist.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, God.
It's so funny because any movie other than like really like the King Kong series, anything movie with like apes in it or something always gets like, it's almost like mocked for some reason automatically. Like, why? What's wrong with it? You know, it's like,
the Planet of the Apes movies are really good.
Oh, those, yeah. Okay, yeah, with the exception of that, too. That's another one, I should say. Yeah, Planet of the Apes. But, yeah, like, I guess anything out of those genres, like that, it always seems to get mocked, and it's like a parody of itself so many times. I don't know why.
Because monkeys are typically funny.
Is that what it is? You think that is? Like, I mean, like, well, you got Clyde, I guess. You got, what was that one? Oh, yeah, Tony Danza one. They're Going Ape. Did you ever see that one?
No.
That is.
I'm sure you have it on Blu-ray though.
I don't actually. I would have it if they made it. In fact, they don't even. It's not on any release as far as I'm concerned. I think you may still be able to find it probably in the bowels of some kind of video store. It's not been on DVD. It's not been on VHS it's not been on Blu-ray. It may be. I want to say there was a VHS version because I think my friend Mark and I used to rent it. But I think I have it. I taped it off a cable. No, but it's so bad that it's funny. But you know who's in it? Stacey Nelkin from Halloween 3.
Oh my god,
she's in it. Tony Danza and oh my god, I'm
no Judith Light though.
No Judith Light. Danny DeVito, and he. So it's like a little taxi reunion there, but it's just hilarious. It's
I've
like a lot of
see
slapstick.
This.
Yeah, you look it up if you can. It's a classic slapstick from like I think the late 70s. I want to say. Jeez. But it's yeah, it's funny because I think Danny DeVito. I don't even think he speaks in this. I think because he English. I think he speaks in some other way. He plays Laszlo. And it's his character's name in it. I don't remember if he speaks hardly any lines, but it's just a weird movie. A lot of ape play in it, if that makes sense. There's like 3 of them. Like I think there's 3. Yeah,
a lot of ape play.
Yeah, I didn't. That's
what I look for in a movie. A lot. Of ape
I
play.
didn't know else how to describe it. Wait, I'm gonna look up the year for you. Let's see, Going Ape, 1981. Here,
wow.
We're gonna do a Civil Gore first, and totally not horror related, but I'm gonna read you the description of this movie. When his father, who owned a circus, dies, Foster inherits $5 million and 3 orangutans. However, there is a condition connected to the money. If he gives away the orangutans or just one gets sick or dies during the next 3 years, the Zoological Society will get all the money. So he not only has to deal with 3 apes and an annoyed girlfriend, but also with Laszlo, a kooky new roommate who came from the circus to help with the apes. A greedy Zoological Society president, 3 bumbling henchmen, and a cranky landlord.
Oh my god. I want to do this movie as a commentary.
We almost should. I didn't realize that was all continuing, so let me reread that real quick. It says, so he not only has to deal with 3 apes and an annoyed girlfriend, but also with Laszlo, a kooky new roommate who came from the circus to help with the apes, a greedy Zoological Society president, 3 bumbling henchmen, and a cranky landlord.
See, that's the kind of stuff that makes me... Sometimes I wish... Why did we do a horror podcast? Why couldn't we have done like a weird movie podcast?
Well, we could still do that as a spin-off. We could do a spin-off every now and then. But listen to this 80s classic, right? It's got Tony Danza, Jessica Walter, Stacey Nelkin, Danny DeVito, Art Matrano, if you remember from the Police Academy movies.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see, and then...
It sounds amazing.
Oh, Ted White is in it. There's the connection for horror movies. Ted White, who of course played Jason in one of the Friday the 13th.
There you go. We have our excuse now.
He plays Goon number 1.
That could be our April Fool's movie.
That also. Wait a minute. Could this have been in our could be our anything you can do? I can do better.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't say it had to be a horror film, did we? Maybe we did. I don't know.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
yeah,
the
so
next one up.
now Tim's got to look up Going Ape. It got
Yeah, oh, man, I can't
3.7 out of 10 stars.
Oh, I can't wait. It sounds like a blast.
It really is. It's funny.
Okay, next one up is Slaughter High. This is one of those iconic VHS covers. This is the one, you guys will know it when you hear it. The skeleton in the graduation cap and gown, standing in front of the blackboard, kind of
with his hand out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually my pick of the week, specifically for that reason.
Yeah. So this one's got an audio commentary, interviews. 8 people are invited to their old high school for their 10-year reunion, where a fellow former student, disfigured from a prank gone wrong, is out to seek revenge.
Isn't that like prom night too? And
it's like every high school horror movie ever made in the 80s.
And what was that other one that National Lampoon did? Class Reunion. Remember that? It was like a comedic version of that.
Yeah. So that for the VHS cover alone, that's a worthy pick. Speaking of worthy picks, not the next one.
Sorry, I thought I read something. News why it came by. I was completely wrong. Never mind.
The next one is not my pick of the week. That is The Dark Tower that just came out. Deleted scenes featurettes. The last gunslinger, Roland Deschain, has been locked in an eternal battle with Walter O'Dim, also known as the Man in Black, determined to prevent him from toppling the Dark Tower which holds the universe together. With the fate of the world at stake, good and evil will collide in the ultimate battle, as only Roland can defend the tower from the Man in Black. I have not seen this, but I plan to shortly because I have to get it over with. I
mean, you're too much of a Stephen King fan to not go. You never know. You know what? Just because it got panned, you never know. There could be some merit to it. And plus, Idris Elba's in it, right? He's always so good.
He is. He's one of my favorite actors. But
yeah, same here. So maybe you may be able to find enjoyment just for him.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll definitely give you my review on the show when I see it.
Yeah.
The next one up is The Devil's Rain from 1975. Rain, R-A-I-N, not raining over the earth or anything. This is by Severin. Has an audio commentary, interviews, and featurettes. A bunch of Satanists in the American rural landscape have terrible powers which enable them to melt their victims. However, one of the children of an earlier victim vows to destroy them.
So some melted kid comes back? No. I guess now it's his parent is melted. Doesn't Severin sound like one of those like musical groups that do soundtracks like unauthorized?
Yeah, it does.
You know, like something like the theme to Rocky by Cascade, or something like that. It's like
Kenny Loggins' Danger Zone as performed by Severin.
Right, doesn't it? It's like sounds like it.
And it's like down, and it's like kind of off, like
just off by like one pitch note or something. It's like just so they can legally do it.
I just like they have to melt their victims.
Yeah,
it's like their victims made out of chocolate, like M&M.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can do this in M&M. You can make this in M&M commercial.
But you know what their slogan is, right? Anything you kindle, I can kindle better. Oh, that didn't work. Never mind. See, I'm not even doing really my joke. Yeah,
I was thinking of victims melt in your mouth, not in your hand, but that doesn't make any sense.
That could be a different type of movie altogether. Yeah.
Yes, it could.
Yeah, what I meant to say is anything you kindle, I kindle better. That's the way I meant to word it. It's still not as funny, but at least it makes a little more sense. I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe not.
It's late.
Yeah,
it's late.
Yeah. We had a good conversation with our good friend Mike before we got on the podcast, giving us some great podcasting tips.
None of which we're using right now.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, none of that. Yeah, that was a bad timing to give Mike credit for something, I guess.
They're like, don't let him ever give you tips again.
Yeah, I'll be like, yeah. So, no.
Moving right along.
Look, and Olive Films is back.
Yeah, Olive Films is back. The Vampire's Ghost. That's a way to mix supernatural entities.
That sounds like the ghost in the casket to me. I think we might have a lawsuit. Considering they made this over 40, 50 years ago, but still, or 40 years ago, sorry.
1975, in a small African port, a tawdry bar is run by an old man named Webb Fallon. Fallon is actually a vampire, but he is becoming weary of his, quote, life, quote unquote, of the past few hundred years.
Didn't Universal make a ride about this? Or is it? Oh no, that's Jimmy Fallon. Never mind.
Yeah. That's terrible. This is Webb Fallon.
Webb Fallon. Okay. Is Webb
This would
Fallon
be-
like a Spider-Man meets
I don't
Jimmy
know.
Fallon? Webb Fallon.
It's a combination of the two rides.
Yeah, Webb Fallon also sounds like the generic like quarterback in one of those 80s high school movies too.
Yeah.
You know, it's a...
Who you going to the prom with, Jenny? I'm going with Webb Fallon.
Yeah. Yeah, what was it with George Carlin when he said he likes manly names like Chuck Steak? It's like that, you know. It's like
Yeah.
Webb Fallon.
Webb Fallon is the quarterback.
Oh, there's Kickstarter number 49.
Yeah.
Quarterback that somehow got bit by a spider.
Weird selection this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little something for everybody, I guess. I was expecting a little more from Halloween.
Yeah,
Halloween, but I don't think they
before.
really go by that.
Well, here's the thing. No, you're right. So Halloween's Monday, right? Next Monday?
No, Tuesday.
Tuesday. Oh, so that's a release day of. So maybe
Yes, day
they're
of
saving it
Halloween.
for the actual release of Halloween. Oh no, that is
Yeah.
this.
It is
Technically.
Halloween.
Never
Yeah,
mind.
these are
Yeah, it is
10:30.
Halloween.
This is
See, I'm off.
10:31.
See, when we record early. See, I let the cat right into the bag.
Yeah,
But
we
yeah,
time
no.
shift everything.
Yeah, we time shifted all.
So we have to pretend like we're talking in the future.
Yeah, which messed me up like 3 times tonight because I'm tired and I'm, as we mentioned, and I'm not on my game. But okay, but at least I did remember that.
So the theatrical, just to mess you up even more, the theatrical release for today,
Oh God.
which is
Yeah.
actually 3 days from now, 4 days
Yes.
from now, is for Friday, October 27th, Jigsaw.
Woo. I saw the trailer looked pretty cool for that actually.
The trailer looks good. I don't know. I've never been like a huge Saw fan. I've seen all of them,
Yeah.
but it's kind of more out of obligation than like genuine desire.
Yeah, I haven't seen all of them. I know. I think I made it to one. To 3. Whatever the one that had Shawnee Smith in it. I think that was the last one I saw.
I mean, the plots get ridiculous. In fact, if you go to GameSpot, they have an article that will give you a summary of all the movies before you watch Jigsaw, which I had to go and read, and it still didn't make any sense after I read them all. So I am going to go see this one because Olivia told me that she has no desire to see it. So she said, you can pick a night and go see it on your own. So I'm going to do that for the podcast, taking one for the team.
There you go.
And yeah, I'll go watch it, see how it is. It's like every other Saw movie I've ever seen, except for the first one, which I really, really enjoyed. But
Yeah, the first one was fantastic.
yeah, but
I
the
think-
rest of them, it's all been kind of like, yeah, I'll go see it because it's a Saw movie and it's out. I
Yeah.
mean, for a time there, that was like the only horror movie that would ever release in October was the next Saw entry. So
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, you know, in the history of horror, at some level, it did have its cool like place for a while when it was like an annual tradition. But you know, the problem is that I guess they were getting thinner as they went on. Like I said, I don't know for sure, but it's just from what I've heard. You know,
well, I'm interested in the last Saw was Saw 3D which was released in 2010. So it's been 7 years since we've had a Saw movie. So in a way, this is kind of their reboot, if you will. This is not a actual reboot. It is a true sequel, but it's like the other things we've seen coming out. You know, it's trying to resurrect an old franchise. I'm very curious how it's going to perform. My gut instinct is not great.
I think it'll have like a decent opening weekend only because of the time period and people want to see a horror movie. And
Yeah,
you know,
I think a quick drop off. Really quick.
I think like by week 2 it'll be and gone.
Yep.
But you know what? I don't think I don't think this was ever meant to regenerate the entire franchise. I think this was maybe a nostalgic stab, no pun intended. You know, back at the back at trying to catch on with the horror buzz.
But since this is our last episode before Halloween, we figured it's only appropriate to do an actual Halloween-related movie, and we batted around a few ideas, and ultimately came up with Tales of Halloween, which came out in 2015, and I don't know about you, Brian, this one's become kind of part of my yearly rotation. I tend to watch this one every year now.
Yeah, same here. And I bought that amazing box set that came out of it on Blu-ray, where I think it has like the soundtrack in it. It's got a little booklet. It's one of those thick boxes of stuff. that I got, and it's like I think it's like a 4-disc set. Because I think it comes with the Blu-ray, a DVD, and some stuff. But yeah, it's right up there to me, like with like Trick or Treat, which I like to watch every year. It is an anthology. We love anthologies. It's got tons of nods and cameos, and some very interesting cameos, which I'm sure we'll touch on, and some really cool, just like cool little things. And it's just one of those like really like fun movies. Like there's this entire time, there's always this like, it's hard to describe. It's like this excitement through all of it. Like it's almost got like the way Creepshow moves and the way Trick or Treat kind of moves, and it just kind of all ties in. It's really cool the way they do that. Like, I mean, it's obviously more closer to Trick or Treat in terms of the tie-ins than Creepshow was, but you know what I mean? Like it's just got this like buzz to the whole movie where you're really like excited, and it's like the little excerpts are good length. None of them really drag on. It's really cool the way they do it. There's a lot of them. I think there's 10, right?
Yeah, there's 10. And if you've seen, if you're a fan of Creepshow and you're a fan of Trick or Treat in particular, because it's very stylistically very similar, then you'll definitely need to see this movie. It's very good. And it can be a little uneven in spots because obviously with 10 stories, some are better than others.
Yeah, there's a couple I'm like, nah, it's all right.
Yeah, we'll go through them each and kind of point out the better ones, but overall, I mean, it's a fantastic anthology. If I had my druthers, I would have liked to see them trim this down to maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, and expand some. Yeah, because there was a couple I wish were a little longer.
Yeah, I think it would have been a tighter movie if they had done that, but it's still it's a great entry, and if you like it, it really, like Brian was saying, it really captures that spirit of Halloween.
Right. Yeah, that's a better wording. Yeah, that's what I kind of meant. Like when I said buzz, it's like, yeah, you really like, you feel like, oh wow, this is exciting. It makes you like really kind of hits on all the things you love about Halloween in the movie. Which
it's got that cool. Great mix of horror and comedy. Great sense of humor, dark sense of humor that runs throughout. So.
And it's going to make you crave candy.
Oh my god, yes. Oh
every time I watch this thing, I'm like, do I have any candy lying around? I just want a little one of those bite-sized things. And the way they make people eat candy in this thing, it's like, ugh.
So what's interesting is it has no traditional wraparound, really. Almost the movie wraps around itself.
Yeah, and like and characters are intertwined in strange ways in this. Like they'll be in a background in one scene and then featured in the next one.
Yeah, it's really cool how they do it. Now there's a little bit of a running narrative. Adrienne Barbeau plays a radio DJ,
right,
like she did in The Fog, and she basically is commentating. Another one of those horror nods to horror fans, but she does like occasional commentaries between the stories. But it's not. I wouldn't call it a true wraparound. It's just kind of a running thread.
No, but you know what's funny? I know the main nod was for The Fog with the DJ, but it had you've seen the film The Warriors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that DJ in that. It's just what it seemed like to me. The way she was like, "Hey kids, we're going over here now." Like it was like a true like it had that kind of style to it, and it was kind of cool because it's like. It just adds a little bit of something, like it shows that an anthology doesn't truly need a wraparound as long as it's just done in a good way. And I think this one hits it because the way it intertwines people in it are just really cool. It's almost like fun to spot when you're like, oh look, there's that girl again, or hey look, there's the guy from that other one,
Yeah, to Brian's point, like you might see characters from one segment in another segment, but as just background walking around.
Yeah,
it's just really, really cool how they do it. It's very. And it took me a couple of viewings before I even caught all of them. I probably haven't caught all of them.
And actually, it's funny you said that because tonight, finishing up before the podcast, when I just saw it in the last segment, they actually kind of give you the nod that this is all, that it's definitely all in one town. Because they like the cops like, well, what's going on with this place tonight? We got an alien, we got this, we got that.
Yeah.
So they kind of basically flat out tell you if you didn't catch on that, hey, you know what? This is all one night. It's all the same night, and it's all the same town.
And if you look very closely at the animations, because it has a great animated intro that's kind of reminiscent of Creepshow, that kind of comic book feel to it. It also kind of clues you in. It gives you a lot of foreshadowing to a lot of the segments. And shows like what's going to happen and kind of ties it all into this one town.
Yeah,
So
and
it's pretty
and
cool.
boy, is it packed with some fun cameos in there. There's some cameos that I didn't even catch originally until I was doing a little research for the podcast. That you just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
whoa, why are they in this movie? And like, where did they, just these little hints and nods, and it's such. That's why it's so fun, because you could, like Tim said, you can watch it over and over again. You'll find new things every time, which is to me is a great thing about like this movie, because you could, you're not gonna get bored of it.
Yeah, like what are some of the? I mean, while we're mentioning, Stuart Gordon is in one segment. Trying to look through some of these. Adam Green.
Yeah, Adam Green. There's actually a very interesting, some Star Wars relation, which would be so obscure. But I don't know if you noticed this, but Sam Witwer, he's one of the guys in the Friday the 31st segment. He's like the tough guy, like not. Well, I guess they're both kind of supposedly tough, but he's the guy that calls, saying as the kidnapper. Yeah. Look at his face next time. If you catch what he does, is first of all, he does a ton of voice work for Star Wars, but his big thing from Star Wars is he was the face model and voice for Starkiller in the Force Unleashed series. So if you look at his face, you could totally see they modeled him after it, and it's pretty interesting. It's like, because I'm like, why does this guy look familiar? And when I looked it up, that's why. And he's done voices of Darth Maul. He's done the Emperor in the different various animated series. Like I think he most recently he was Maul in Star Wars Rebels. And then the other one is, and it's funny because there's the sequence. I mean, we're kind of skipping ahead, but in that Bad Seed, when the cop is asking for a sketch of the murderer, and the artist turns it around, and it's, well, I mean, I won't say what it is yet, but basically he says a very really realistic interpretation of what the actual murderer looks like. She goes, "Nice going, Rembrandt." Well, that guy who she calls Rembrandt is Drew Struzan, and he's known for a lot of those amazing movie posters, specifically the Star Wars ones. Or Struzan, I'm sorry, I spelled his name right. Struzan, I think technically, right? Yeah.
That same segment, Joe Dante.
Yep.
Plays the professor, obviously of Gremlins fame.
John Landis makes an appearance in there.
John Landis, yep, he's in there.
Well, Christina Klebe, the one that plays the cop in Bad Seed, she's the one. She played in the Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween. She's the one that's it's terrible. I can't remember her name, but she's the one that's naked. Basically.
In the third segment, Rebecca McKendry from the Shockwaves podcast.
Yeah, yep. That was a great cameo. I was like, whoa, is that? Because I'm like, that looks really familiar. Who is that? And then when I looked it up, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so tons of good cameos and tons of nods to other horror movies and horror fans. But let's walk through each of these segments real quick and just kind of give our general impressions.
Oh, and wait, and in the first one, we can't forget our good friend Caroline Williams plays the mom in that.
Yeah, so. Of course. So the first one is called Sweet Tooth. It was written and directed by Dave Parker, and basically this boy's babysitter tells the boy the legend of Sweet Tooth, who is an evil spirit who will take your candy, even the candy you've already eaten.
This I think, it's hard to pick a favorite, but this is by far one of the quickest ones that I put right at the top.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. They put this one at the very beginning because it is one of the stronger segments.
Right. I think maybe that's why they wanted to start you off with like a bang, and they really did with this one.
Yeah. Great gore in this one. Very scary. Yeah, I'm trying not to be too spoilery because if you haven't seen the movie, you really should. But this one definitely is way high on the list of my favorite segments of the entire movie.
And this is one, to prove your point, I would have loved to see this expanded a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. And they could easily have done that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, technically, they could have taken this premise and made a feature-length film out of this story. But, I mean, it would have been tough to kind of keep the same momentum going with it. But, yeah, while it was great at its length, I would have liked it maybe like 10 minutes longer, really got into it more. But I think they just needed a good strong start to the film.
Yeah, and it's important to know that with 10 segments, this movie only runs about an hour and a half. So
right.
You're only looking at roughly 10 to 12 minutes per segment.
Right.
So they're definitely true horror shorts. The second one up is, again, this one might be my favorite actually. And this one's called The Night Billy Raised Hell. It's written by Clint Sears, directed by Darren Lynn Bousman. And there's a young kid, Billy, dressed as I guess he's dressed as one of his old-fashioned devil costumes.
Yeah.
And his older siblings, I don't know if it's one of them was an older sibling, maybe her boyfriend or something.
Yeah, but they seemed like they didn't the sister didn't really care about him that much. But
yeah, I couldn't tell if it was a sibling or if it was just, I don't know. But
babysitters,
anyway,
maybe, yeah.
Babysitters or whatever, but they put him up to basically egging this neighbor's house who's kind of a Scrooge for Halloween. And he gets busted for it, and the neighbor basically tells him that he's going to teach him the ultimate Halloween prank. And it is indeed probably one of the most ultimate pranks I've ever seen.
Oh my God, is it ever? Yeah, and it's great because it's like this one's got such like humor to it, yet with just like a kind of a sinister twist at the end. But I loved it, and it had to have the most random cameo of someone playing themselves when Adrian Curry comes in.
Yeah.
That was like
they even make fun of it.
Yeah, they're like, what? Yeah, like when I first saw that, I'm like, is that who I think that is? And then they flat out tell you it is. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, again, that's one of my absolute favorite segments. It's got a great anthology twist to it, and the sense of humor is really funny. So that's a great one.
Yeah, and that was, I think you're right. That's like those first two are probably my two favorite. I think if I had to pick, they're right up there.
Yeah, definitely. The third one is called Trick. It's written by Greg Commons, directed by Adam Girash. And it's basically a group of trick-or-treaters who go on a murderous killing spree. And this one was a little disturbing.
Yeah, I thought so too.
It doesn't really have the sense of humor that the other segments have.
No, in fact,
it's very
it's
dark.
Exactly. Yeah, it kind of disturbed me in the way. Well, I better not say why it disturbed me because that kind of is a giveaway of the twist to it. But it definitely was one of the. And it's funny because of the other two, the tones. I mean, I think maybe that's why they placed it where it was, because the other first two kind of had this lighthearted little,
right,
albeit dark comedy to some degree, but also fun. This one was like pure like horror, and it was to the disturbing side, which it doesn't mean I didn't like it. It's just it was definitely on the kind of like cringe.
But it is cool in that these little trick-or-treaters show up in a lot of the other segments.
Yes, so. Like especially that girl, the witch girl, like the one that's
so it's kind of cool
in every one of them
to see them pop up later on. The next one up is probably one of my least favorites.
Mine
that
too.
That one's called The Weak and the Wicked. It was written by Molly Millions and directed by Paul Soleil. And it's basically about a young man who summons a demon to get revenge on a group of bullies. And I swear, Brian, I've watched this movie, I've probably seen this movie 5 or 6 times at least over the past 2 years. And this segment is always the one where I tend to like almost nod off.
Yeah, same here. It's just not, I don't know if it's just it's a little bit of an overacting in there, which usually can get by, but it just, I don't know. To me, there's nothing appealing about it. Wasn't that original of a twist or anything. It's a classic, guy getting bullied and he finds a way to get revenge. I mean, it almost would have made sense as a wraparound, like, story, like if they pieced it.
They tried to put this, like, Western flair to it.
Yeah.
And kind of make it sort of like a cowboy type tone to it. It just, to me, it just didn't work. This, along with the next segment, has always been like my 2 most forgettable segments of this movie.
Yeah. And it's funny. The next one is literally like a typical short horror film you'd find on YouTube.
I was just about to say that. Yeah,
oh, sorry.
Like,
I didn't mean to...
No.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said it because I'm glad somebody else thought the same thing. This one's called Grim Grinning Ghost, written and directed by Axel Carolyn, and basically a young woman's haunted by an evil spirit, but it's so forgettable. It's just so generic. Like,
for a second when I was watching, I was like, which one was this? And then I remembered it. But yeah, it literally is. It's just not saying that if this was, I think, like you just discovered it on YouTube, you'd be like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's not bad. But like, I think in the being encompassed by the other stories in this movie, and right next to probably the worst one, I think it was maybe a bad placement of it. Like, this could have possibly opened it, and maybe it would have been a bit
Yeah.
stronger. I think, yeah, I mean, it's funny. I mean, you wouldn't think, like, oh, what's the difference? Anthology and anthology, put it anywhere. But no, I think pacing is a big factor in anthologies. And so to put this one where it was, like, you know, you already just had the one you like least. You almost needed one like the caliber of the first two to follow it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think that was the problem.
Yeah. Along with that other previous one, the film just kind of drags right here.
Right,
it starts to drag. But then it starts picking back up because I really enjoyed the next one, which is called Ding Dong.
This one is off the wall.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
Written and directed by Lucky McKee. And it's a man discovers his wife is a child-eating witch. So you have all these Hansel and Gretel overtones, but this woman who plays the witch is the creepiest. Like that, the whole sequences where he's seeing her as a witch, is insanely creepy.
And she likes to fondle her own boobs a lot.
Yeah, it's bizarre. You have a guy dressed up like Hansel and talking in a like German accent. It's really weird.
And she just keeps playing. Yeah, and she's like playing tricks on the trick or treat, the same one where she swallows this like hairball or something.
You have to see it. It's really good though. I mean, it's entertaining. It's very entertaining.
And again, this is like where you needed something like this because you had two. I mean, I hate to say duds because it's not fair. I mean, maybe placed better. I would have enjoyed them more. But yeah, but like it's definitely the weaker point, and then you come back with this one, which is it comes right when you need something. Yeah,
it really comes back to the tone of the first two, which is what it needed. The next one up is this one's entertaining, but again, it's not high on my list. It's called This Means War, written and directed by Andrew Cash and John Skip. And it's about a battle that ensues between two neighbors as to who has the best Halloween decorations. Yeah. So you kind of have one neighbor is like the heavy metal, goth, Satan, demonic, blah, blah, blah. And the other guy's more of the traditional ghost and goblins, pumpkins, Halloween.
Yeah, like the traditionalist kind of guy.
So
like he likes.
I mean, I like the concept. Was pretty funny.
Right.
I don't know if it was executed as well as a lot of these other segments. It's probably,
Yeah, I mean, it was like, to me, it was more like, okay. It was just like right in the middle. It was like, wasn't bad, wasn't great, but it wasn't, it's definitely more watchable, I think, to me than the Week in the Wicked one.
The next one is completely batshit crazy. Yeah. This one is called Friday the 31st.
This one, I don't know why. I mean, this one I really have a soft spot for.
Yeah, it's written by Mike Mendez and Dave Parker and directed by Mike Mendez.
Well, look, see, Dave Parker obviously knows how to get to me and Tim because he did Sweet Tooth also.
Yeah. A tiny alien gets his revenge on a deranged serial killer. I'm talking about it's literally a claymation alien.
Yeah. Twinkle tweet. And I love when he keeps saying that. He goes, twinkle tweet. And it's the cutest little alien you ever saw, too.
This is just... Yeah, I say no more. Like it's bizarre. It's just complete. And oh my god, just wait and see.
Yeah, I don't even want to spoil anything. Other than the Twicker tweet, that's all we'll say. It's just it's got like it literally is just off the wall. It's pretty funny.
Completely over the top.
Yeah.
The next one is The Ransom of Rusty Rex, written and directed by Ryan Schifrin. Two bank robbers kidnap a demonic creature. This one to me was a little overlong.
Yeah,
it's not bad. It's entertaining, but it seemed a little overlong compared to some of the other ones.
Well, you know what it is, because when you get to the twist in it, there's still about 5 or 6 minutes after the twist. And a good anthology, usually the twist is the final sequence of the final scene of the sequence. So the fact that it continued a little bit longer is probably where we get that feeling from.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if the Twilight Zone last scene happens, and then there's another whole sequence afterwards, and you're like, okay, well we know what's twisted. Why are we watching more of it? We know what happened. It's like that.
And then the last one, they do end on a fairly high note.
Yes.
This one's called Bad Seed, written and directed by Neil Marshall, and it's about a genetically engineered pumpkin terrorizing the town. And
I love how you said it so calmly, like it's like that's an everyday occurrence.
Yeah, but it's everything you want from a Halloween movie.
Right.
You know, it's a crazy jack-o'-lantern terrorizing people. I mean, that's just awesome.
Yeah, no, and it reminds me of that, like, remember Jack Attack, that short?
Yeah,
kind of like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, but so it's like, and it's great because it's like, yeah, it is the perfect finale for this movie. Like, out of all the sequences, this is the only one I think that could have ended it. And like we said earlier, they actually make a nod to it, so they kind of wrap it up in a line of dialogue where they say, like, what's going on with tonight? We got an aliens, we got this, we got... Basically, they kind of do a brief little, like, summary of a couple of, you know, of the episodes. And so it's, you know, and it's just, you know, obviously it's far-fetched. There's a lot of comedy in it. John Savage plays like the police chief guy in it. Just, and this one's like packed with cameos and stuff. And
they want to go out on a bang for sure.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, it's got the perfect, like, it ends. You know, the last scene is the twist, like it is, and it kind of is almost like whoa, you know, kind of thing where you could set up a sequel if you wanted to of it. So it's really like, it was probably the perfect ending to this type of anthology.
Yeah. If I was going to make a super cut of this movie, and granted it'd only probably be about 45 minutes long, but I would probably do Sweet Tooth, The Night Billy Raised Hell. I might put Trick in there, maybe. Definitely would leave out Week in the Wicked, Grim Grinning Ghost. Definitely would have Ding Dong in there.
Yeah.
This Means War is on the fence, maybe.
Friday
Definitely
the 31st.
Friday the 31st would be a no-brainer, and probably Bad Seed would be my follow-up. So
yeah,
you could easily take 5 of these and make a killer Halloween movie. As it is, it's 10. Hey, you know, it's more to, you know, fleshes out the movie to an hour and a half. So, and none of these are like terrible by any means. I've seen so many anthologies where there's just some segments that are just complete throwaway garbage. There's nothing like that in there. It's just that some segments are better than others.
Yeah, like there's nothing that's so bad that I would like ever skip it.
No.
You know, because I mean, even the ones that we didn't like are done like, you know, creatively they're done really well. They're just not, you know, the storyline doesn't quite work. And like I said, I wonder if like it was edited in a different order, if that would make a difference.
Yeah, it's possible.
You know,
yeah.
I'm wondering.
If you haven't seen this movie, definitely break it out this Halloween.
It's free right now. It's on
it's on Netflix.
I think Netflix. Yeah, so you can check it out on Netflix.
Check it out. And this is the one that along with Trick or Treat, which is an annual standard, and
it's another one I love.
I have my movies that I watch every Halloween, like Exorcist, the original Halloween. Those are like my scary standards.
Yeah.
But then there's another class. I'm slowly over the years I've started getting into this. The ones that are truly capture the Halloween spirit.
Right.
And that would be definitely Trick or Treat, and then this one for sure has moved up into that ranking. So.
Yeah. And I think what I like about it is it's kind of like those movies that you ever see like the a Christmas movie, right, where it seems like the whole town is caught up in space. Both movies do that. Where the whole town is into the spirit, and it's like you're like, that's the town I want to live in.
Yeah,
one
exactly.
that celebrates Halloween like with that such gusto.
Every house is decorated. There's masses of trick or treaters. Every door is lit up.
And like the people opening the doors are in costume.
Exactly.
The whole thing. It's like it's kind of like that feel to it, and so kind of it has that like all-encompassing feel to it, and that's what I love about those two particularly, because it's like just not I'm like the town I'm currently in right now. It's like, I mean, other than that one cool house I showed you, most people just put up a couple of generic decorations, and it's nothing even remotely cool like that. It's like
I'm the only one on my street basically that's decorated this year. So
see, it's like. Like one year when I first were here at the house, I took out like all my props and I had stuff going on and all these different things. But we hardly get any trick or treaters because right now we're in a court, and I think, as crazy as this sounds, like the most trick or treaters we had was I think the time when Hurricane Sandy hit, and literally so all the schools were closed. And so we were, my work was closed, everything. So we were literally home. We were sitting in our cars, like charging phones, and like and we'd had a bowl of candy in the car with us because kids were coming up because they were all trick or treating all day long. That was the closest it ever came to that kind of a feel, because usually they must come earlier by the time Julie and I get home, and we're at the end of a court. So if you're walking by and it's dark, and they're just walking by, they're like, all right, do you really think I'm going to go make a loop around the corner? Just keep going,
Yeah.
So we lose out on a lot. So, I mean, we always buy a bag of candy just in case, but we usually buy something that we know we like because we're going to end up left with it.
Well, our neighborhood we get a lot. We usually get at least 100. And last year, I didn't decorate nearly to the extent I did this year, but I had so many kids come up and say, I love your house. I love the decorations. Some people said it was the best house on the block. And I mean, it was not that, there was not much to it. It's just that nobody else decorates. So anything you put out is the best house on the block,
You need to Atmosphere X.
Yeah, that really made me feel good that, there's some people that really were gung-ho and enjoyed it. So this year, I went all out on the decorations in the front, but we're going to do like we did last year. Last year, we set out lawn chairs in the driveway with bowls of candy, and we sat out there and passed it out. We had Halloween music playing.
Oh, nice.
Because I had a little radio Bluetooth speaker out there playing Halloween stuff when kids came up, and I'm actually going to try to find an inexpensive fog machine before Halloween night so I can fog up my graveyard.
You know what? Check I don't. If those. The best thing to do is try like a believe it or not, like a Walgreens or a Rite Aid or some one of those kind of stores, because they tend to quickly put their stuff on clearance because they just don't have the space like a Walmart does, where they can just easily pull.
Well,
so check
even
there.
Lowe's has put all their stuff on clearance already.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, all their inflatables and everything. Because usually they wait until afterwards and people go in there and snatch it up. I noticed. I got a couple more projectors.
Nice.
The lights and stuff for like $15. They were marked down from $20. So they're already starting to mark that stuff down to get rid of it because they're putting Christmas stuff in.
Yeah.
They've already got their Christmas stuff in. So.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's always at a weird
around.
time. Right now, when you can see literally Halloween decorations and Christmas decorations simultaneously up, fighting
It's
each
such a
other
weird.
to.
Yeah, it's kind of depressing though. I hate that they just shove the Halloween stuff out so quick. Even before Halloween, they're shoving it out.
Yeah, I wish there was I kind of wish there was Halloween stores year round all the time. I mean, there's this place near me, there's Ruby's Costumes, which I guess is probably the closest thing to it because they have one of their locations actually has a walk-through haunt at it.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was in there the other day because I was trying to look for a certain piece to a costume, and they have so many major props. It's right down one of the locations, right down my office, and it's in an office building, so it looks like you're walking into a factory, but it's literally just a massive Halloween store, and they have pretty much every costume you can imagine, every prop from big to small to decorations, and it's like a multi-sensory thing. Next time you're here, I'll have to take you there because I think around Christmas time though they sell more toys at it than they do Halloween stuff, but it literally is a costume company. And I think they're the ones that supply the buycostumes.com. I think they're affiliated with them, but this is their actually retail location, so it's really cool.
We do have a store called Halloween and More that stays open year round. And it's not really a costume shop. It's literally like a little Halloween store. But during Christmas, they sell Santa Claus suits. And, St. Patrick's Day, they sell St. Patrick's stuff. I've never been in there, actually, outside of Halloween season. So, I don't know. But I just know it stays open all year round. And they change the displays out and stuff. It's really strange. But
now you have to report.
Yeah, I'm about to report for Easter Bunny costumes and stuff. I know they have stuff in there all year round. So
I still think our idea for a true haunted park, fully themed haunted park. I mean, I know I told you that Bayville one, but that changes throughout the year. But I want a Halloween park that's like a Hollow Scream or a Universal Horror Nights, but 24, not 24/7, but 365 days of the year.
I mean, they do that. They've had those Christmas themed parks that are all year round.
Yeah, I mean, Santa's Village they have.
Yeah.
And we need to start. It's time for Halloween to take over, right?
Yeah. Down with Christmas.
Yeah.
Halloween all year round.
Krampus rules,
So, what was our beer pairing this week?
Oh, yes, it was. I just finished it actually, as we said it. I obviously it was going to be a pumpkin beer, but I know we've sung the praises of Pumpkin, but I wanted to do a little something different. So I don't know if I've had it before. I've seen it, I know, but it's called The Fear by Flying Dog, and it's an Imperial Pumpkin Ale. And, typical pumpkin ale, it's pretty good. I love the artwork on it. It's got some little creature on it, which is pretty cool. And Flying Dog always makes pretty good stuff. And here's the little description on the bottle I'll read to you, which is cool. It says, and this kind of goes to perfect timing to read this based on what Tim and I just said. It says, why is there only one time a year when we embrace the fear? At all other times, the fear dominates us, controls us, and prevents us from greatness. Whatever the fear is that consumes you, learn to embrace it. Only then will the true artist in you rise up. And so that's what it says on the side of the bag. And it's 9% actually, so which is pretty good. That's pretty strong.
I don't think I've had this one actually.
Yeah, look.
I thought I had when you said Flying Dog, but I've now looked at the label and I don't believe I've ever had this one.
Yeah, well, I think they tend to do a couple of like limited releases. But they have another. I believe they have another pumpkin one. Dogfish. I think they have Dogfish Head Pumpkin, regular one. So I think this is
the one I've had. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the one. This one. That's why I said like I think I've seen this before, but I don't think I've ever had it. So I did like a little mixed 6-pack at my beverage place. Got a couple different options that I've never seen before, so I put those in there. And so I figured, it's 1 week left of really when. I mean, not that you can't have pumpkin beer after, obviously, of the Halloween, but I wanted to definitely get in the spirit and have it all week long. So I had a few left. I had that great one that you gave me. So I have a couple of those left. So I think I have enough to get me through. Yeah, so I think I have one per night to get me through to Halloween at this point.
Nice.
So.
I'm saving my last pumpkin for Halloween night. That's gonna be my last hurrah. So.
Yeah, I think pumpkin should be year round though. That's good. Yeah. Good stuff.
We are way overdue on our trivia from our Raw episode.
Yeah,
I just realized because we didn't go into it last week, obviously, since we didn't have a real traditional episode. But the trivia, if you recall, was that the lead actress in Raw was turned off of one food forever by this film, and we asked you what that food was, which you would think it would be raw meat, right?
Yeah.
Wrong. The answer is sugar. She said she was turned off of candy after this film because the raw chicken she was eating was made out of sugar.
That's weird.
So, isn't that weird? Yeah, it's like I guess it was
gummy,
some kind of,
I guess.
Like kind of like some gummy sugar gelatin type concoction. So that was kind of cool. Yeah. And then the trivia question for this week, which should be fairly easy for you eagle-eyed viewers.
Yeah, I think there's 3 I know of for sure of this. So basically, in a movie like chock full of, as we said, Easter eggs, cameos, and whatnot, there's at least 3 that have a reference to our master of horror, John Carpenter. It's either a reference to him specifically or to one of his films. So I know I've counted 3 for sure. I think I've seen. So, but we're asking you just to name 2.
Yeah.
So I mean, one. I'll give you one hint. One's pretty blatant.
Yeah. Well, extra credit if you get all 3.
Yeah, if you get at least 3. If you get the 3. I mean, there may be another one that I just didn't catch in there. I mean, like I said, they come so fast and furious in this movie. I mean, technically, you want to. I mean, this isn't one that I'm counting, but I mean, if you want to figure out Christina Cleed, remember she was in the Rob Zombie Halloween, which obviously has based off of his Halloween, but I don't think that I'm not counting like in terms of that.
No, it doesn't have to be that obscure. They're more obvious. Speaking of John Carpenter, while we just mentioned this was kind of not in the rundown, but watching Stranger Things, hearing the theme, which is very Carpenter-esque.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Very, very Carpenter-esque. Just reminded me that if you have not picked up or streamed or listened to John Carpenter's Lost Themes albums, you definitely need to go do that. They are incredible.
Didn't he have like a box set or something that came out?
Yeah, he came out recently with some kind of box set of film scores. I've really just recently really gotten into his soundtracks. And but man, the Lost themes are just so cool because they're themes he composed that aren't actually used in films, but they sound like they came straight out of one of his movies. Very heavy synth based and everything. They're awesome. Like I like to sit in the dark and listen to them, and you can like almost see this imaginary movie playing out in your mind. That's how.
See that's awesome when you.
That's how good. Like that. Yeah, that's how good these soundtracks are. So if you are a fan of his films and his music, definitely go track those down. They're really, really cool.
It's rare you get someone so talented in like both facets of a film, the score and the actual movie. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
All right, well, I guess we will wrap it up so I could go watch some Walking Dead.
Let Tim go, and I can go back to packing a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, such fun. I think Tim's going to win in terms of what better to do after the episode.
Well, believe it or not, our next episode will be dropping in November. That is crazy.
October went fast.
Yeah, went by so fast. But so we'll have something cool for you then, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yep. Take it easy and enjoy the trick-or-treating.